Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Soundtrack of Your Life, the show where you get to share stories about music, so that's songs, albums, bands, soundtracks that have interspersed with people, moments, scenarios, events in your life. Because I believe we've all got stories to share, so this is the show where you can share them. My guest on this week's show is Darshana Qureshi, who's a clarity and transformation coach, and is someone who came to me looking for a bit of support for her new podcast that she's got out with a bunch of coaches called the Naked Coach Collective, a link for which is in the description of this show that you're watching or listening to now. Do check it out. It's a great new show that's a bit fun, a bit informative, all about the world of coaching and how it can apply to you. As for this week's show, the episode with Darshana was a load of great fun, a lot of stories, a lot of great songs shared as well, and was a really great and fun conversation to have. Darshana was a really engaging and funny guest to have on the show, and I'm sure we'll be seeing her on a future episode again as well. So if you want to be on the show, do check out the sign up link that's in the description below, and we can get your slot sorted on the show. In the meantime, enjoy this show with Darshana and feel supersonic. And welcome to this week's episode of Soundtrack of Your Life. If you're new to the show, this is the show where you get to share stories about how music, so songs, bands, albums, soundtracks and so on, have interspersed with people, moments, events, scenarios in your life. My guest on this week's show is Darshana Qureshi. So Darshana reached out to me as a clarity and transformation coach, but not about her services. It was about her new podcast, the Naked Coach Collective. Now, by the way, it's not what you think, by the way, but I'll let Darshana explain it when I hand over the mic in a second. But we got talking, and to support each other's podcast, we thought, you know what, let's see if we can get you on the show. And we talked about what Soundtrack of Your Life is all about. She's really up for the ideas, got some really cool things for us to listen and enjoy. So, yeah, Darshana, welcome to the show. If you want to just explain yourself, say hello, and just kick off.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Vishal. First of all, I'm very grateful for the opportunity. So thank you for having me on. I hope I can give an entertaining.
Oh, very much. So I've no doubt about that. Let's put it that way.
Well, it was, when you first approached me about the subject, I was like, oh, I'm not a music collector, and we talked about it. And, I started to realize that actually there's a lot of music in my life. And so I'm very grateful that you've given that to me in a sense, because I never really thought about, music being so instrumental in lots of areas of my life. And so it got me thinking about how my life goes. But just a little about me, in case any of your listeners don't know. Well, I'm sure they don't know who I am. But anyway, I am a clarity and transformation coach, and I work with people to just help them sort out things that are going on in their heads and in their lives, and a lot more besides. But like you say, we met through the podcast, and I was promoting my new podcast, which, thank you very much for the plug, the Naked Coach Collective podcast. And I think you've got something really interesting to offer in this podcast that you do, and also in the other things that you do. So I reached out to you because I thought, oh, this guy's interesting. So again, gratitude and thank you for giving me this opportunity. So
a pleasure.
Oh, thank you. Now I'm looking forward to this. If I'm rambling on, feel free to stop me, because
that's the whole point of the show. It's all about stories. It's all about what you want to share. And for those of you who've listened before or watched this before, you'll know that there's no real format to this. It's that, as I built this show from the ethos of we've all got stories. And actually going around the sites as I do, just generally, when you're just surfing around, I found the bloody BBC have nicked my idea. Not Desert Island Discs, but there's another show on like Radio 2 or something. I forgot even the name of it now. Where it's Vernon Kay, who's got like a guest on and goes through their top 10 songs in their life and out of fact. They're like, you bastards, you've nicked my idea. So look, it's not the most original idea, but we're like, look, at the end of the day, not all of us are celebrities. So like, look, why not? Everybody's got stories to share when it comes to music. You pointed out yourself, right? Some of us might have heard the concept of the show and going, yeah, I got that and I got that and I got that. And they're already there. Some reflect on it going, oh yeah, there was that song, and then this song comes out. And the beauty is these prompts and what have you come up from nowhere. And when you ask people to go, do you know what does so and so song mean? Does a certain emotion link to a certain song? Does a certain time, whatever it might be. So when I get guests on the show, I know that they'll hopefully enjoy it in their own way. And that you mentioned it before we started, the amount of guests that have just taken the show as their own. I've had people do impromptu rap. I've had people talk about the story of their first album, their band days, their time with their parents, brothers. So all good. So if you ramble, that's the point. The less you hear from me, the better, because obviously you're the guest, not me. So rambling, all good.
Okay, right. Well, thank you very much for that. I would just like to say as well, you said about, it's not an original idea, there's all the, but you know what? There are very few original ideas.
That's true.
So just putting out
true.
Everything, even Shakespeare had ideas from other people's work, and I think, I don't know, I mean, you would, so everybody has ideas that come and stem from other people's ideas, because that's how it works, so I think that's absolutely fine. Right, okay, here we go. So I wanted to start now. I haven't scripted it, but I have got a few notes because I've got a terrible memory,
Oh, good.
But I wanted to start with a very, very early memory from when I was a child. And now my heritage is Indian. I've got a Gujarati family history background, and but I was born and brought up in the UK, so it was always a fusion. So growing up, I think I pushed that Indian side of me. And as you'll discover with the with the songs that I've chosen, there's only one Hindi track, and that's the one that comes right at the very beginning. That I remember my mum has a glorious voice, and she would do a lot of singing in the community, and so she would sing this song to me, and I was sort of this high or this big. I don't know if I was ever that, but, and it's from the film Kabhi Kabhi, which was I think early 70s.
Yeah, sounds about 70, 71, something like that. All the Bollywood buffs are watching this going, oh my god, he's got this wrong. He's all that. I don't know. Apology if I have, but do you know what? We've got that kind of ballpark in there. I'm sure it's 70 something.
I think it's early 70s, and there's a song in there called Meri Ghar Aayi Ek Nanni Pari, which is basically saying a little daughter has come into my life, and that is basically a celebration of a daughter's life. And my mum would sing this to me as when I was little, and it's something I could just remember, and as I was doing a little bit of background work on this show, it just kept coming into my head, and I thought, I can't put a Hindi track, a non-English track on this, and I thought, well, no, I have to, because this is where it started.
Of course you can.
Well, yeah. So that's in my playlist, which will be is a YouTube playlist, and I'm sure Vishad is gonna show me how to share it. But anyway, that'll come later. So that's the first one, and it was as I was the youngest of 3 children, and I guess the spoilt one. Now that I'm older, I can say that, and it was just one of those sort of precious memory songs that came to me as I was trying to think about, well, where do I start? You have to start at the beginning, don't you? So that was one of my earliest memories, and it's made me think, right, I'm going to go get the film and watch it again, because I don't really watch Hindi films, but I'm going to, and go from there. So that was my early one.
Did you inherit her great voice as well?
I'm sadly not.
We could have had an impromptu performance then.
We could have, but you want to keep your listeners.
Oh, Oh, brilliant, brilliant. No, that is a nice beginning, because I can empathise a bit, you know, being from a similar culture and background to yourself, and Bollywood as it in its guise nowadays is you know, more well known, I guess, in terms of the sheer, I guess, glitz, the glamour, the personalities behind it. But back in the day, I guess it was still really well known abroad for, I guess, maybe a bit of a novelty factor, or the fact that it was a bit different to Hollywood stuff. But this is a little bit of bias, but it just there's a reason I think people say the classics from the 70s up to the 90s, well, even like the 70s going backwards even further to the 50s, because my folks were very much the 50s and 60s era, and still are. You know, they've got like, I mean, talk like encyclopedic knowledge of who wrote it and who sang it and what film was it from, and you know, they have all these like quizzes and, you know, dues that they go to and stuff like that. So when you hear like a classic Bollywood number come up, you're like, okay, you know, I can empathize, because I guess those kind of songs and times had stories behind it. Like you mentioned, the title, you know, is like a sort of proclamation, right? And there was a lot more storytelling and evocative emotion intertwined in those songs.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't remember very many, but all of them would have a story.
Yeah,
all of them are there to move the story along as well. Not just a song stuck in the middle of the film. And they have a deep connection to the actual film. I'm not a huge classic, you know, musicals fan, you know. If just on a side note, if I go to, like, I took my daughter a few years ago to go see Witches, I think it was Witches in London.
Oh, the Roald Dahl book.
No, not Witches, Wicked.
Oh, right, yeah, that's the Witches. Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
Halfway through, you know, I'm thinking all the songs sound the same. You know, all got the same. Right. So musicals is not my thing, but films, you know, they just progress the story, which I think is incredible, is very, very good. So now we get into the nitty gritty. Ready for this one? This is going to throw, I think, you.
Oh,
1976 Eurovision Song Contest winner was.
Where's my pass button? 50-50. Can I phone a friend?
Save All Your Kisses for Me, Brotherhood of Man.
Oh, right, yeah, okay, interesting one. But I think it's the first Eurovision shout we've had on the show.
Is it?
Yeah. No one's mentioned even the word of it. But it's funny you mention it, because even the word Eurovision, that's coming up, isn't it? Coming up soon.
I've no idea. I haven't watched it for about 30 years. So.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Sounds like I don't think we've missed much.
No, I'm old school from way back then. It was just, I mean, I was very young, and I remember this song because it was huge. So anybody who was old enough would remember this, you know, Save All Your Kisses for Me. And there was a dance routine. So there was a dance routine which was very easy, a little bit of this and a little bit of this, and that was it. And my mum and my aunties, you know, they used to go shopping on the Saturday morning to the local market, and myself and my aunties, you know, the kids and the cousins and the, you know, we would all go to another auntie's who was sort of keeping the kids, you know, it was a bit like that. So and I can remember this song because we had myself and my friend, you know, who was with me at this other auntie's house. We were in the garden and we were singing this song, Save All Your Kisses for Me, at the top of our voices. And my auntie came out and she looked at us and she said, I'm telling your mum that you're singing about kissing boys.
The grassing auntie. I'm sure everybody can relate to that. The grass. Bloody hell.
And we were trying to remember the routine. We were singing the song and it was like, I got to tell my mum.
Yeah, you're gonna the I guess the shellacking you're gonna get afterwards is like, what? It's on TV. What do you expect? And I guess for those who are watching this, going, what is Eurovision? Because you may be in different parts of the world. This is basically well, as its name says, it's a song contest where I forget how many countries it is now, maybe like 25 odd countries sort of literally submit a song. So you like nationally you have like a vote. I don't even know where this vote or when it happens. Yeah, and then like the winner in each country goes into this sort of evening of, you know, performances, and then at the end each country votes for the country they liked the song from. The most famous song. So, like, the most famous example is ABBA. That's where everybody knew them from. They won a contest. Yep, they won a contest back in '79. And again, any ABBA fans are going to have a right proper pop.
79?
Was it '79?
I think it was 79.
Okay, well, there we go. Okay, so I'm saved from the ABBA clan.
Might be earlier.
Well, again, I apologise if I got that date wrong. But yeah, it's essentially this. It's an annual contest, which, you know, some people say that it's a big thing. Like, they sit down as a family, watch it, and get involved. And, you know, some people have the flags out and all this kind of thing. So is it? I don't know if it's so much of a big thing now. In the, well, I don't know about other countries, but in the UK, it seems to have quietened a bit. Not helped by the fact that we keep coming either last or second last. In most contests. Well, to be fair, I think a couple of years ago we were second, and you're right, there is a lot of political sort of what they call block voting going on, but again, look, we're going off on one. But yeah, if you've not heard it, you know, just YouTube it and you might get some. You know, I do warn you, there are some eclectic stuff and performances going on, but I'm no aficionado. I don't claim to know a lot about it, but this is just for people that like Eurovision. What the hell are they on about?
Well, I think if you're going to explore it, you know, and you don't, you know, you've not really heard of Eurovision before, and you're thinking, right, I'm going to explore it. Go back to the 70s, you know, and you can get. I think recently on TV, actually, they showed a whole episode from start to finish of even the voting, which was incredible. The voters, I mean, do go back and have a look at those early years. Lately, I mean, I think Australia are even.
There are some random, like, it says Eurovision, but you're right, Australia's in there going, how did they sneak in, you know? And it's funny, like, you know, the UK is still in it despite us having Brexit, but that's a whole different avenue. So I'm not going down that route, but let's say that. But you're right, again, like we said, you know, with Bollywood, it was the classics that, you know, tend to stick to people's minds. Same thing with Eurovision. I mean, you know, some of the classic Eurovision entries I can remember in there, like, you know, when we won, is it Katrina and the Waves won, like with Walking on Sunshine in the mid-90s?
Really?
That was a great song. I'm sure it did.
I didn't realise it had been in there though. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure other people are going to correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty confident that one. But no, yeah, every now and again, that does seem to pop up with a memorable song, like, you know, like the ABBA song, like, you know, Save Your Kisses for Me, because it was that unique, I think, unifying moment. Everybody sat down, watched it, and it becomes infamous for various reasons. It was there, I think, again, if you YouTube it, there's this really horrible example from the UK.
Oh God.
Gemini, I think they were called. It was a duo, a boy and girl duo. I forget the year. I think it was in the mid 2000s, but it was. There was the backing track, and the musicians were playing like one key, and the singers were completely on a different one altogether. And just, I can't even do it justice. If you just type Gemini Eurovision, it got no votes. Nil point, as they say. But like, oh dear, that's what it's come down to.
I've stopped watching by this point. I've completely and utterly stopped watching by this point. But I would say, you know, the Waterloo ABBA is worth looking at. The clip that I've chosen on the playlist for the Brotherhood of Man, Save All Your Kisses for Me, is actually one taken from the Eurovision, because I thought that would be quite interesting for your listeners to have a look at, because it shows the format of the show as well. Because
cool. Yeah, they can see. Yeah.
So
what country were they?
They were us. They were Brits.
Were they?
Yes.
Oh, blimey.
Yes, of course. It was a win. It was a win year for us, yeah.
Okay, now I'm really going to get the wrath of the Eurovision brigade now, aren't I? It's like, oh dear.
Oh yeah, you need to get...
Where's that body armor when I need one?
No, you check it out. You'll enjoy it. It's great. And then try to do the dance. And imagine me as a little 6-year-old trying to do the dance, you know, in the garden.
And then getting grassed on by your auntie.
And get grassed on. It was quite funny.
Oh, brilliant.
Right, let's move on a few years. So teens, there was all it was the rage to record the top 40 from the radio onto your cassette.
To
So
play and record.
that's
and
right.
hope the DJ doesn't speak.
Yes.
Oh,
And there was
how many people have done that?
so, so Sunday nights, it's top 40 night, and you'd
Yeah.
be playing. And I remember just because back then you had to listen in real time. There was no, none of what we have now. So with Sunday night, we'd be sitting there, we'd put it on and get on with your chores and have it going on. And then a song comes on that you love, and you just stop everything and dance for a little bit, and put the press the record, press the record.
So many people are probably listening to going, play and record tapes. What are they talking about? What? Where's the click? Where's the link? None of that, lad. There's none of that. If you got your timing wrong, that's it. Evening ruined.
And also, then sometimes you'd chew the tape on the way out.
Yeah, exactly. It's like all that effort. You waited, you hit the thing. The DJ said nothing, and then the tape's gone in the player, and it's like that's it. That's it. Then you might try and rescue it with the pencil and trying to spool the reel. That looked sorry, that's a very dodgy action. I might edit that out.
But that's exactly what you did, right? So I'm not going to do this, but that's what you did. It was just so. It was nice, I remember all that, thinking, oh my god, yeah, just.
So I don't think you mentioned the song. Sorry, in this top 40 part. Sorry, I don't know if you're building up to it.
Oh well, no, that was just you know what? That was kind of like just a moment. I was just telling you about that. Was something that I did with music, was the Sunday nights listening to, and not particularly a particular song at that point, but don't worry, there are particular songs coming. So that's that. And I mean, I did listen to a lot of radio. I grew up in London. So we had the London radio stations. We had Tony Blackburn on Radio London, and he kind of turned me into a bit of a soul girl. So as a teenager, I would probably, while a lot of my friends were big fans of Duran Duran and the Human League and these sorts of bands, I was crossing the pond looking at Luther Vandross and these sorts of soul music, Motown, Diana Ross, and all of these. So my favorite from the early days of Luther, and I cried when he died. I mean, I don't do that very often. I'm not really a crier, but I did. I found that I just thought, what a sadness. But So Amazing by Luther Vandross, actually written by Dionne Warwick, or Warwick, however you want to pronounce it. And she recorded the first edition as the original, as far as I know. But and I could be wrong, so let me know, but I believe he was a backing singer on the first
oh right, okay,
track of So Amazing. And then, I mean, I remember Luther Vandross, So Amazing, being the backing track to so much of my late teens and early 20s. It was like a go-to song when I was just feeling, anyway, it would lift me if I was feeling down. It would just make me feel great if I was in love, or just like, so if I was falling out of love, or however it was just that song that said everything to me at any time. So, and I would explore it. I didn't hear the Dionne version for a long time, which is excellent, but there was also a Lovers Rock version. So at this sort of time, I was getting into a little bit of reggae music, Lovers Rock, that real vibe. And I'm afraid I probably haven't tried hard enough to find that version, but I'm making a note. That's why I've got my pen here. The Lovers Rock version of So Amazing, I believe it's probably still around somewhere. I look for it. Is excellent, and I haven't heard it for 30 odd years, so I'll look for it. I'll add it on.
This is the beauty of sort of songs sometimes, you hear the original or the first version of it, and then you find there are more versions, whether they're, covers or the originals played by someone else, or a remix or a remastering, reimagination. I know there's advances in tech nowadays where AI, you know, you can get them to reimagine, you know, what would it be like if, you know, John Lennon sang a Rolling Stones number, or if Mick Jagger sang a Beatles number. And it's like,
Oh my
just
goodness.
there's a whole
Oh,
plethora out there. Like I think now if you were to just combine an artist or a band with another band's song and stick it in YouTube, chances are you might find, you know, just the maddest sort of like combinations and stuff. You're like, oh, I'd really like to hear how that would sound. I mean, yeah, look, there are some, I guess, ropier results than others,
right.
as people, I guess, feel about with tech. But there's this most, I say famous or infamous example where there was this unknown band, no one knew, they're just a small time band, and they really like honed in this software where they took all their original songs and put an AI Liam Gallagher vocalist on their songs. They took the original singer out, you know, as a band experiment. Then you're just like, you know, right, you're fired to the guy. But it's like, right, they just tried this software, and it's, a lot of people say it's as if it was the actual Liam singing it. It's just really incredible, and their name actually became quite renowned in, you know, music media, like, you know, so many like music magazines, channels, places, like, oh, how did you do this? And they're like, well, we just kept programming it, and you know, they said, look, we're putting this stuff out for free, we don't want to sort of make a name off it, and if Liam gets involved, whatever, let's see. And then I think, you know, all their album sales and gig tickets like sort of started selling way off, and it's like, wow, the amount of stuff that is possible now. But there's nothing like hearing different, original, authentic versions of your favorite song, or one of your favorites.
You've blown me away with that. Honestly, I had no idea that that was possible, and
check it out.
I'm not sure how I feel about it. I kind of think, where's the integrity of the original singer, and
you're not wrong there. And I think a lot of people have the same dilemma, I guess, you're having, saying, but you know, a Beatles song, for example, is a Beatles song. That's it. You know, John Lennon sang it or Paul McCartney sang it. Like, I wouldn't comprehend anyone else singing it. But the amount of efforts that have been made by people, as I said, some sound more ropier than others. Let's not say that. But there is again another example that sprung to me was when do you remember recently the Beatles? They released the final track, Now and Then. So they'd found a really old tape of John Lennon demoing somewhere, and they like scrubbed out all the noise and got Paul McCartney back in and Ringo to do the instrumentation, and old samples from George Harrison, and put that out. Now there was a guy who again reimagined the song as if mid-90s Oasis made it instead, and the Noel Gallagher vocal he's got is like, okay, that's ridiculous.
Okay,
it's literally on the nose of like, that's literally him. Again, YouTube, you go down many a rabbit hole if you look, like AI cover. It's quite something.
Wow, I will. Yeah, gosh, okay, I'll look it up. Maybe there's a So Amazing.
Probably.
I mean, it's a classic, isn't it, as far as I can tell. As well, for me, yeah. Oh wow, okay, gosh. So I mean, I'll just digress slightly, because I recently went to see the ABBA.
Oh, the experience. Was it the Voyage?
Yeah, the Voyage.
Oh yeah.
So I went in February, and it was quite. It's, you know, it's what you've just said has sort of made me remember that, because I hadn't really planned to talk about it, but it was quite surreal, because there were times you knew in the back of your mind that this wasn't real. Right? You knew that, of course, but then there were times when you just got so engrossed in it.
Yeah.
You let yourself believe it, you know, that you were at an actual ABBA gig, because of, you know, the way that they did it.
Yeah, and I get, for those that aren't familiar, this is the show in London where they've got holograms of the band performing, right? Yeah.
Yes. So they've got it's a purpose-built stadium, and maybe it's not as huge as a stadium, you know, it's like an arena, and it's big, and they're on the stage, and they are holograms, and they also have, you know, the big screens as well, so it looks like you're at a gig and there's a big screen, and
right.
but it's quite it's quite eerie in a sense, because
Mm.
you really, you can see their skin, you can see the bumps on their skin, and it's just so real in
Is
so
it
many
that
ways.
realistic?
It is really realistic, but you are always aware that it's not real, but you kind of can let
Right.
your mind believe that it is. It's
Wow.
I'm not going to say, one way or another, they didn't play a lot of the songs that I would have liked to have heard. So from that
Oh,
perspective,
okay.
it was, I was a bit upset that not upset. I was a bit sort of, you know, I thought, oh, okay, they could have played, some more, but some different ones. But anyway,
Okay.
um, so they did do Waterloo, and they showed the ABBA video from where they won it at Eurovision. So it all goes round in circles. So going back to live music, actual live music with
Yeah.
Vandross, who I was, if I'm not ever, I've never been a fan. I've never been a go out and buy the posters, and I've never been one of those. And I had friends who were like into whatever they were into, and they'd have posters on their walls and things like that. Now, it was never really been my way of doing it, but I love gigs. So I've seen Luther twice, and I remember one moment. So there's a song called "There's Nothing Better Than Love," and it's on you can find it. The one that I've chosen on the playlist is a duet with Gregory Hines. So you may know Gregory Hines as a dancer, I think. So anyway, so he's singing, and it's just such a cool song. And at the time, I was listening to it a lot. So I was at this Luther concert. It was Wembley Arena. Does Wembley Arena still exist as a gig venue? So obviously not a huge stadium, the arena, and we had sort of seats. The Luther and his band were in the middle. So sometimes at the arena
Oh,
you'd
okay.
have them at the front, and
Yeah.
sometimes you'd have them in the. So he was in
Oh.
the middle, and I wasn't sitting too far back, sort of maybe about halfway. It was quite good. There were quite good seats. So I had to go to the loo, right? So it was like he played a song, and it seemed like there was going to be a break. So I thought, right, I'm rushing. I'm going to rush over and go to the loo. Anyway, so I'm in the loo, thankfully nearly finished, and I hear this song.
Oh no.
I was just about to start singing it, but I better not, right? So it's just like,
Go on. Go on.
the
Go on.
chords. No, what is no, I can't do it. All right, so you'll have to listen.
Damn it! Nearly got it.
Next time, tell me to bring wine. Right, so
Brilliant.
so I was like, so you can see me. The whole place was empty outside. Obviously, everyone's inside watching the show. I was just like me, like a loony, so needing to go. So I came rushing in, and actually, it was really fine. It made the memory, because I thought, oh my god, it's playing my song, right? The fastest person in the whole of Wembley, but that was an amazing gig. I remember seeing quite a few around that sort of same time. It was about late 80s, early 90s.
Oh, that'd have been a good time.
It was
A
a
lot of
great
great
time.
live acts.
Oh
Surely.
my god. I mean, I saw Stevie Wonder in the same place at Wembley Arena as well. Again, he was in the middle from memory.
I don't know whether they do that anymore. Apart from, I was even going to say like other like non-music stuff, because the only time I've seen when I've been to Wembley Arena that it's not performed at the stage is a comedy gig where they've just like, even closed, put a curtain across halfway, and it's only half the arena that they're performing in. But I've never had or heard of a musician performing in the middle of the floor and you're around them.
Yeah, no,
Wow.
this was quite this, yeah, actually this was what they did. So they had
Wow.
like it was a circular stage in the middle of the floor. But the arena is not that big.
No.
In
No.
today's standards, it's not that big.
No.
So
What is Wembley's 3,000? Or have I really underestimated that? Anyway, we
possibly,
digress.
possibly, yeah. I don't think there are that many bad seats. Even if you're quite high, like the O2. If you go to the O2, and I tell you, I will never go to the O2 again, because what's the point? Hello. Unless you're right there in the VIPs, right at the very front. What is the point? You're only looking at the screens anyway. So
Yeah, you're not wrong. I've been to a couple of times. Yeah, when I've been in the nosebleed seats at the back, and you're right. You find yourself just naturally watching the screen because otherwise you're just watching this tiny little microscope thing at the front. 12,500. Sorry, not three.
Twelve and a
Completely
half
wrong there.
thousand. Wow,
Twelve and a
wow.
half
Okay.
thousand. Yeah.
At the arena.
At
Interesting.
the
Gosh.
arena. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Oh well. I mean, I think if you're gonna go to a gig, I do think they're very expensive, but I'd
Oh
rather
God.
go
Yeah.
to fewer and have a good, decent,
Mm.
quite close up seat. And I like to be right at the front. So, I mean, I like to go to quite small gigs as well, where you can literally stand just there at the stage,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
just see whoever you're going to see. Um, oh gosh, okay, so we're going. I'm really sorry. I'm jumping about chronologically
This
from
is
here
your
to there.
show. It goes whatever direction you want. There's no, let's do this, then do this. It goes where you want to. I was literally going to ask you what was your favourite gig? I mean, obviously you're at a time when so
Oh,
many massive artists and lineups and gigs were out there. Do you have a favourite in terms of the experience, the build up, whatever? Like any favourites?
I love them all because I just loved doing, seeing live music, and I've seen, I mean, since over in that period of time, there was Ruby Turner, the Pasadenas, a little bit later. I don't know if you remember the Pasadenas. So they were a kind of funky. I don't know if they were British or American, but they were like 4 or 5 guys, and they had the quiffs, riding on a train. Okay, I'm going to put that down so that I've read in a. They
Another
just
one
had
to
dance
list.
moves. They were a bit of a throwback to the Temptations and the from the 70s and late 60s Motown. They were a throwback for them, but they were current. They were current in the early 90s. I would say late 80s, early 90s, and I saw them at the Brixton Academy, and which is a great
Nice.
venue. If you've ever been in there,
Yeah.
it's a great venue because there's no bad place to be in that venue. So
Very true.
it's
Very
stage is
true.
huge. You're just there, and it's. Haven't been for years there, so I don't know if they've changed it around for health and safety reasons or something. Anyway,
No, no, it wasn't that the arena where they had a couple of people got crushed.
what,
Um,
at Brixton Academy.
yeah, yeah, a year, 18 months ago, I think.
Oh gosh,
Might have been
right.
more recent than that. Just overcrowding.
Yeah.
It was. I think it was a hip hop artist. I'm not too sure, but and I guess that lack of crowd control and stuff like that, and then just
Mm.
crushing and stuff. And they had to close the venue, I think, for a long while to
Oh,
read all the safety bits and bobs and stuff like that. So, but yeah,
that's
the times I've been, it has been that sort of tight, intimate venue. You're right. But yeah, I
oh,
think
I'm
it
really
was
sorry
that.
to hear that. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't know that at all. That's awful. I mean,
It was.
yeah.
I think it was a surprise to many when they heard it because um, it's something that I'm not saying can happen, but it's like with these type venues, you then actually then appreciate the organisation and the people that are there to like keep you safe and direct people and this and that and the other.
Yeah.
But sometimes you see these arenas sometimes like people seem to think maybe in places where there's more space where like a
Mm,
venue like an arena or a stadium is on its own somewhere. There's loads of space everywhere in and around. But in London, in
mm.
particular, in central London, maybe in other inner parts of the city, the arenas and
Mm.
stuff like that, they're all um, compressed into the inner city's
Okay.
surroundings and environment,
Mm,
right? Like
mm.
it's between two buildings or like near like a major junction and stuff like that. So you do have to be a
Yeah.
bit careful. Um,
Or
yeah.
they're revamped. Like the Union Chapel in North London.
Yes. Oh, I haven't been to that. I'd love to
It's
go
an
there at
old.
one point.
Go there. It's so it's an old church, and I saw Mario Biondi there, who is an Italian singer
Oh wow.
who
Okay.
I love, who have been introduced to by my partner Julian, who introduced me to Mario because he's just got some great songs, and and he sings in Italian. There's a song called Prendila Così, which is
Oh, very nice.
I wish I could translate it for you now, but my mind's gone blank. But I will. But it's a love song, and it's kind of like one of the first songs that he he introduced Mario to me for, and then so we went to see him, and we've been to see him a couple of times now at gigs, and one of them was a football, there's a venue at a football club, which, if you're I'm really sorry, it's in North London, somewhere.
Right.
Oh, well, there's some, oh my God, how can I forget it? Anyway, so Mario Biondi is worth exploring. If you like music that's a bit, just a bit European, but has got
a bit European.
But he sings in Italian a lot, and he sings in English a lot as well. So he's got such a unique voice and a unique style. But you have to listen a few times and get into it. And it's just, it was lovely to be introduced to him. So he played at the Union Chapel, which is just such a perfect venue for music, I think, because it's intimate. There are seats, but you don't have to sit down. Like, I mean, why would you go to a concert and be sitting down? It's for me, you want to sit down.
I've been the whole standing there, been there, done that, got the t-shirt, like with this. Look, when everyone else is into it and stuff like that, you can stand. That's all good. But it's like when you need to sit down, you can't do it in a crowd because you got to maintain your place. But it's like you need to sit down. You sit down. I know I sound like an old man when I say that, but it's like, look.
I mean,
there's less risk of people getting in the bloody way because I'm on the average height size, and if some tall bloke stands there, like, for fuck's sake.
I wouldn't want to be in a festival type crowd type Glastonbury thing, that sort of thing does not appeal to me. And I have been to a few festivals in my time, but I would always want somewhere to sit down. But I would want the option of standing up and having a boogie. If you're in rows of seats, like for example, we saw Elvis Costello about later one, this was maybe 8 or 9 years ago at the Argyle Street Palladium, right?
Right. Oh, good knowledge. Yeah.
And it was all sitting down, and Palladium's a bit like this from
yeah. It's that very sort of steepish kind of goes in the weird shape. I know what you mean. Yeah.
So you have good seats, right? So you can see stuff, but you can't really get up. But not that you want to dance to Elvis Costello very much, but it's kind of nice to rock, to just kind of rock it. So where were we? Where were we?
This is your journey. We're talking about live experiences, live gigs.
Live experiences. Okay. So I just love it, and there's so a short Sade, cool. Aspired to be her because she's just so like cool. I saw her twice at Alexandra Palace, and this was been about, I don't know, that late 80s, early 90s was when I was really looking at all of these gigs. So it must have been around that time, and she was incredible. She comes on and she's got this presence, and she starts singing, Your Love Is King, and you're just sitting there just mesmerized, just watching her, thinking, oh my God, I want to be you, I want to be you, I want to be this girl, And I don't think Sade is actually her name. I think Sade is the name of the band. So any music out there, check it out, let me know, right? Because I think, I think so, which everybody thinks that was her name, but anyway. Other gigs I've seen, Kylie Minogue.
Oh, nice. That would have been really good.
So way back in the day, there's a song called "It's Never Too Late," which most people would think is and I've never claimed to have good taste in music. From the classic perspective, I have a very eclectic taste in music, and I just like what I like. So
exactly, that's what it should be.
So that song was played on repeat a few times because it was just ridiculously happy. It's never too late. You still got time. And you just basically, soundtrack to your life has to be something like that. That's jolly. That is not going to ever let you down as a song, because you put it on and no matter how you feel, it's never too late. And you're just up and you're
got a bit of singing.
And that's it. Right. Other concerts and gigs. Well, quite a few. I probably have forgotten loads. My claim to fame, I suppose, would have been the free Nelson Mandela concert,
Mm.
which again was 1988, I believe. And in my head, so this is when I was doing the research, in my head, I always thought it was Hyde Park.
Right.
But doing the research, I think I figured out that it was Wembley Stadium, because I do remember being in
Sounds
the
about
crowd.
right.
Yeah, I remember being in a crowd, like just standing there, just surrounded by people, which I would never put myself in now, but at the time, was great fun. So, and I've got this memory of me and my gang that I was with at the time, who sadly I can't even remember who they are. Isn't that awful? God. So if you were with me at the free Nelson Mandela concert in 1988, can you just let me know? So, because I'm sure I still love you. So
I promise.
I
Yeah, it was
Wembley.
Wembley. I don't say
Yeah,
stadium. Oh, it's got to be stadium. It's not going to be
it
the
was
arena,
stadium.
isn't it? So
Yeah,
yeah.
it
So
was stadium.
he had Anita Baker, Bonnie
That's
Raitt,
right.
Chrissy Hind, etc.,
Love that.
etc.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I don't really remember too many of them. I remember just being really like it's a feeling memory rather than a memory of having that sort of that buzz of being young and of being a bit radical and of sort of jumping up, yeah, free Nelson Mandela, and not really understanding any of it, but just being part of something of youth culture, which I think sort of these days our young teenagers don't really have so much. There's no unifying, nothing to unify young people at the moment. So when I look back at something like that and I think, gosh, I might not remember the details, but it's so important to have had that memory, to have had that experience. And so from that point, I mean, if I were to offer some unsolicited advice, I would say if you are going to gigs and if you are experiencing things that are potentially impacting your life, keep a journal, write it down, because you can take photos. You'll take photos on your phone, and in 5 years and 10 years time, you'll have a different phone and you'll have lost a lot of those photos, so have some printed off, one or two, whatever, write on them, keep a memory of how you felt in that experience, especially with music, because it will evoke a memory later on in life, which you'll want.
That is brilliantly put.
Mm.
Because you're right. Aside from like taking photos and footage at a concert, I think it's just the dumb thing now. Even artists themselves are getting tired of it because of, are you there watching the screen or watching what's actually going on in front of you? Are you there to I've seen numerous artists quote in interviews saying people forget themselves in the moment. They want to tell other people where they are and what they're doing, like streaming it live or posting it on something. It's like, sod them. Yeah. You're the one in the seat or the place watching and experiencing this. And you're right, yeah, you can take photos and what have you. I would also add, like, print them. Like, people can't see it now, but on the other side of my screen at the moment, I've got a whole wall where I've amassed photos from the gigs I've been to. I consciously made this at a time when we were sort of renovating. I thought, it's something that, it's one of the first things I see when I wake up. It's like, this wall of, it's a wall of memories, right? A lot of people still do it in various guises nowadays, but I used to have my gig tickets up as well. So I know nowadays that's not a thing where, you just get the e-ticket that you just flash on your phone and that's it. But there is something about having that physical ticket in your hand. The artwork that sometimes has gone behind it, or the, here was the price, and it's bloody sobering when you look at a ticket price, like you could, like
or your seat number.
Yes, seat number, row number, and it was 30 quid to go see that gig. Nowadays, add a 1 in front of it, and that's probably more the realistic price. But you're right, it's those kind of anchors that are just there for you. So it doesn't matter if you lose your phone or gets wiped or changes or whatever. It's like, no, they're there, and you're right. Like when it comes to music as a unifying factor nowadays, I think it's absorbed in different ways. Like I saw last week there was that news article where Taylor Swift released her album, and apparently she sings about the bloke she used to go out with from London, and she mentioned the name of a pub in Vauxhall. I don't know whether she explicitly called it out in the song, but I think definitely the name of the pub was called, I think, the Black Dog or something. And then people have just got exactly I know where that is, and I think like thousands of like these fans have just descended on this little pub in Vauxhall, and I think the pub itself knows that, oh yeah, we're the song in the we're the pub in that song, and it's like, oh wow, so I guess that's the kind of place or thing where people, I guess, unify now. Like, you know, they've got those shared experiences where you all get it in some form of like that. I get that reference and I get what that's about, and you have it that way. But you know,
is that going to last though?
Good question. No, because
it's not. No,
because I think somebody else will be along in a minute to do the next thing.
Well, you know, this is why I think, you know, I mean, getting older has definitely been influential in my music, you know, because I love not shit music, excuse me, sorry.
No swear, I don't mind. I don't give a fuck. There's no censoring here.
So no, you know, I think I do love what might be. I like pop music, I like all sorts of music, you know. So I get that, but these days, I think the options are fewer. You know, younger people these days have fewer options. You know, there's cool and there's not cool. Whereas it was cool to be not cool when I was younger. Now it's not cool to be not cool. You know, you're kind of like, if you're not cool, you're not cool. So that's the, you know. But I do feel that if you can keep some sort of a keepsake for your memory, you know, your musical memory moments and other things as well. You know, as a coach, I would encourage people to write journals, and it's something that I have not done until quite recently, and I wish that I had done. And I have a very dear friend who has written a journal all her life, you know, and she gets a lot of pleasure and a lot of pleasure from just reading those every now and then. They're from X number of years ago. So it is something that I think is important for you if you feel like, gosh, that has made an impact in my life, you know. And now I think I mentioned earlier on, I'm the youngest of three. My brother was always out playing football, and you know, he is a very active fella and plays lots of sports. So I didn't really get much of my musical influence from him, but I did from my sister. So I just wanted to give her a shout, Kit. Thanks very much. You know, she is 5 years older than me, and you know, introduced a lot of sounds to me. And so about 4 years ago, she and I and our partners got a chance to go to see Carol Thompson and Janet Kay, who are Lovers Rock, the queens of Lovers Rock, I like to call them. And then they were playing at the Jazz Cafe. So we went to see them. And it was so nice because like 30 years after we started listening to their music together, or my sister introduced them to me, you know, we were at this gig together watching them. And if you've been to the Jazz Cafe, it's small. You know, it's really intimate. It's lovely. So you're sharing that experience with the singers because you're right there. So I'd like to say, you know, there was Silly Games is always the one because everybody tries to sing it. So if you're not familiar with this song, you know, Silly Games, do listen. There's a really high bit in it where well, no, mere mortals like us can't get there, you know. So,
I was going to say, I thought, and here's a live demonstration of it.
But it was really nice to share that, and it just spanned time. So we were, you know, we were teenagers again, or young, you know. And I mean, bless her, she was a wonderful big sister, and she is a wonderful big sister. But she, you know, she used to sneak me into clubs and things when I was underage because she. But don't tell my mum. Yeah.
Well, she doesn't watch the show. Oh no, you don't want the auntie who grassed you up from years ago watch this again. I'm going to grass on you again.
No, we really don't. So that's yeah. So I love that kind of vibe. Oh, I don't. You know, if you said to me, "What's your musical style now?" It's still really, I mean, it probably says a lot about my brain, how eclectic and erratic my musical tastes are. I can like one thing one day and something completely different another day. You know, it's
More common than you might think.
oh really? Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
So like for example, you know, we went to see, you know, I like dance music. I love house music. I love dancing to, you know, and there's a DJ music producer called Black Coffee, and a song that I'd really like for you to listen to is called Superman, and the singer, the vocalist on there is a singer called Bucci, Bucie. She's South African, and I think Black Coffee is also South African, and he played a festival here about 4 or 5 years ago, which I went to in Kent. It was a Kent, the Friendly Festival or something like that. Anyway, so it was, you know, he was playing, Black Coffee was there. Superman was my favorite song at the time. And I thought, right, you know what, we're going to go. So it was great. So do look that one up. That is a kind of, it's such a cool, feel good tune. And if you're not into dance music so much, you know, it doesn't matter, because this is just, she's got the most amazing voice. And if you watch it on the video, she's this incredible looking woman who's just owning the stage. So if you want to see that would be wonderful. I also like music with a bit of a retro feel. So a song that I've been playing a lot last couple of years is Emma Noble, and she's got a version of Woman of the World. So it is,
Okay.
it's got a really retro swing. You know, the Marvin Gaye's original, and so she's done it. But she's because she's a woman, you know, she's kind of, she has made it her own. It doesn't just sound like a remake of a classical song. Now that one is an empowering song for me, because I feel I had so I got divorced when my daughter was 3. So this was, you know, nearly 20 years ago now. And from a memory perspective, I was thinking, okay, so what am I going to include here? And you said, oh, first dance at your wedding. Right? You remember we were talking, and
I
you said,
did.
we did.
Yeah.
And I can't honestly remember the first dance at my wedding. So, which is quite telling, you know. And I went back and I thought, after our chat last week, I thought, you know what was the first dance at my wedding? And I actually cannot remember it. But what I do remember is the album Hopes and Fears by Keane, which was my, if you like, my breakup album. So
Oh, right. Okay.
yeah, so you know, I won't go into details, but it wasn't, you know, and I didn't envisage that my marriage would ever break up. I didn't envisage anything like that. So when it did happen, you know, it was a bit of a shock, and I just had to find a way of coping with it. Now, at the time, and obviously not now, because here I am sharing all on media, but you know, I've come to terms with it. Obviously, it's been many years, but at the time, it was a very private, secret thing. Not secret, but I didn't really share with anyone.
Yeah.
Or until I was ready, which was a couple of years later. But you know, at the time, I would really sort of just lose myself in this album, because it was a bit of a breakaway. You know, it's not a soul album. It's not a, you know, it's not dance. It's not, you know, it's kind of pop of the time. But the lyrics, you know, in Bend and Break, for example, you know, it was just so strong. And the other standout is Can't Stop Now. You know, it's just so like, so these were the songs that I thought, right, when I was having a bad day and I thought, you know what, this is really shit. All of this is just all fucking shit. Right, I'm going to go for a drive, right? You know, I'd get in the car and I'd put it on loud and I'd just drive for a while. And it really kind of just, not that it help me process or anything. It wasn't like that. It was just a it was cathartic, you know.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
listening to these guys singing their guts out, you know, loud in my car, whizzing around, you know. It really did. It just helped. So music can help and it can heal, even when you don't know that that's what it's doing, and you know look back now. I mean, I can't remember the last time I listened to any of those songs all the way through now, because if they come on, it takes me back to a place which, while it helped me get through, it still takes me back there. So, you know, that kind of, especially like Bend and Break, it's just so powerful for me. And you know what? I never went on to explore any more of Keane's albums or anything like that. It was just that album at that time had just that purpose.
Yeah.
So you know, obviously you can see, you know what I mean. But yeah, that was
100%. And look, you captured the ethos of the show brilliantly there in that example. Like I quote the example of a first song at a wedding as just the one of the more obvious examples that comes to me about what the show is about. Like, I guess people have an idea when you say stories in music, but it's when you articulate in that way, going, oh yeah, that kind of thing. So it's like, you know, it's those moments where you hear a song, and whether you consciously aware of it or not, you're transported back to that time.
Yeah.
It's a certain memory, it's a certain person, it's a certain time, it's a story. Yeah, and the fact that, you know, you've taken you again, you're probably the first guest to even mention that example, but obviously not have your own example about it. But it's another example of the opposite scale, the breakup element of it, which many people will resonate with. So even the phrase breakup song, breakup album, people I'm sure will have got their own in mind.
Yeah.
And as you say, it's something that, you know, it doesn't, I guess, necessarily spur you to look for more material of that artist, as you say, but it's something that's readily linked and anchored to that memory for you. It's, as you said, it served its purpose, and there's no real better way of saying it for that, because, you know, you strike upon a really great point about how music can be a healing device. And indeed, I was reading about someone yesterday who I forget her name, sorry, she calls herself the Doctor of Rock. And it's not, here's the thing, it's not rock music. So I read a little bit about her, and she is, and I really apologize, I forgot her name. She's a neurologist who has worked on the idea and literally trying to put like scientific theory and experimentation and sharing knowledge about it, of how music through every stage of your life can impact your health from a physical sense, and interweaving mental health as well. But and again, I've yet to explore it. She's got a book about it. I've yet to sort of, you know, dig into more. But, you know, when you mentioned that, it's like that came up straight away. But even without that scientific proof and evidence behind it, the fact that we have things like a breakup song, or the song that, you know, what do they call it now? The ugly cry song, I think, a phrase.
Oh God, I've never heard that.
Apparently it's this thing where you ugly cry, about whatever ugly cry means. I guess that whole, like, you know, heaps of tears maybe, and that really got, I don't know.
Okay, right.
One of them. So, but I'm saying, like, people in those moments will have a song that's like, right, that's my go-to song. And that's why I think the advent of, well, we know from the days of, you know, our times, like, we had mixtapes where we'd make it for people. You know, they weren't readily about, we'd have to go and create it with the whole play and record method, probably. Maybe make a bit of artwork and give it to someone special or whatever, or even a mixed CD. But now it's like, you know, we rustle up a playlist, and it might be a playlist for somebody. It's a playlist based on certain emotions. People go to the gym and have these on and go, right, I want to use it for workout music and gym music. So it is everywhere. And
it is definitely,
you know, there's going to be stories behind anything that you hear, you know, whether you stick with it and play it again and again until you're fed up of it, or, as you said, like, oh, I haven't heard that version or whatever for 30 years. That's the point.
I mean, it's really, really relevant, actually, what you're saying, because you have that association of your playlist with the person that you did it for, or
Yeah.
who gave it to you, you know, the memory is still there after all these years. And when I mean, just to sort of clarify, you know, the Keen Hopes and Fears album, I called it a breakup album, or you know, and the songs from it, but it wasn't for crying to. It
Mm,
was
mm.
for it was for lifting me up. It was for
Yeah.
power. You know, it was for yeah, okay, this is for like, this is not going to break me, because this is going to teach me something, and I'm going to
Mm.
move on to it, because this is what it was about, you know. And because it had to, you know, that was the survival instinct for me, and that's why it spoke to me. Now I know that breakup songs, like the ugly cry thing, I get that, right? You know, but it's okay to feel it in different ways as well, you know. So, you know, everybody's been through heartbreak, you know, everybody's had their life turned upside down in some way, shape, form or another.
Yeah.
And I think, what if, when you choose your music, maybe it's something to think about, what music you choose. I think the music chooses you at that point, you know, because I think when you're there, definitely this album chose me. I don't know how. I don't even know how it even got into my hands, because quite frankly, it's not a band I would ever have bought, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know where it came from. That music chose me um at the
That's a
time.
really great point. I've felt that too, vividly, at least twice.
Wow.
There's a couple of very strong instances where I could say the song saved me from something more damning,
Mm,
and
wow.
also to give that sign and clarity and direction. Not necessarily in the way you'd want it to, but it's
Mm,
like, right. And as you said, it came from out of nowhere.
mm,
You know, you weren't waiting for it. You weren't kind of actively looking for it.
no.
It just like So the two for me was like, well, it came up on YouTube,
Yeah.
and
Well,
yeah, and you
yeah.
know, I weren't looking for it, but it's like, you know, the YouTube suggested bit.
Yeah.
It was just it was, well, one of them was definitely in there. The other one was, yeah, it was just part of an album. But yeah, I think when people look into it, if they'd like to, then they're going to find their own examples of that nature. And you're right, like, you know,
Yeah.
we've mentioned things like, you know, it's an emotions playlist, or it's a playlist or a mixtape for a certain person, but you don't have to. Your associations and stories are your own.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to mirror each other's and that kind of thing. And look, that's the beauty of, you know, well, certainly the part of the ethos of the show that I wanted to do, right? You know, it's like, I thought, if I've got stories like this, I'm sure there are people that have
Yeah.
got the same manner, you know. And uh, look, I mean, look, we've been talking for over an hour now.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, yeah, my time is ticking up to the one
Oh my
hour,
God.
six
I thought
minutes
that I'd
part.
struggle with half an hour.
I, I'm no doubt that we could talk even more about it, but I purposely like to try and keep it to an hour, so that
I
like,
think that's a good idea.
I want the guest back on. I think you'd be a natural great guest to be back on, and it just leaves
Thank
the
you
people
so much.
wanting more. So, Dasha, thank you so much for being
Oh
on the
my goodness.
show. It's been one of the most. I always say this to everybody. You know, they're great to have on, but this is, you know, been a great laugh and a great, you know, space for stories and some great tunes and stories that you shared. Before you go, do you want to just tell people where they can find you and reach out if they want to sort of chat more and find out about you and stuff?
Oh my goodness, of course. Thank you so much. Well, if you want to have a chat to me, you can email me on contact@darshanaqureshi.com. Or all my socials, Darshana Qureshi, Instagram, Darshana_Qureshi. I do like the sound of my own voice, obviously, and my own
All
name. But
good, all
anyway, I'm
good.
out there. You can catch me. I've got a website, www.darshanaqureshi.com. So feel free to have a perusal around my website. Contact details are all on there. You know what? Even if you just want to talk about music, I now love talking about music. Thanks, Rishad. you know, um, or if you just want to talk about something that I've touched on today, you know, I've done lots of things, and I know that there's life experiences that are linked to music or not linked to music. But if you just feel like it's something that you might want to chat to me about, please do. I love talking to people, love helping people, so that's me.
Awesome. And I'll put those links that you shared in the description or wherever people are watching, listening to this, that space.
Fantastic.
And
Thank
do
you.
check out her new podcast, The Naked Coach Collective. If you search it on YouTube and the socials, they'll be around. It's a new podcast. I think it's a few of you getting together and sort of talking about coaching and all that aspect. Give it a listen. It's new, so like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff on it.
We really would appreciate that, actually. We're trying to, in the first few days, we got up to number 49 in the business podcast, and obviously you've got to keep that going. But we're very, very excited about this. Please do any support that you can offer on that, or the YouTube, I used to say Spotify and all the rest. By the way, if you don't want to watch a whole program, there were clips. So if you jump on YouTube, the Naked Coach Collective podcast, there are lots of little short clips that are actually quite interesting and funny, I hope. So do.
Indeed. Well, Darshana, again, thank you so much for being a great guest on Soundtrack of Your Life. And if you guys watching, listening, want to get involved and be a guest like Darshana on the show, just check out the sign up link that's in the comments and description on there, and we can set up your own slot to be on the show. So thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for checking out this episode of Soundtrack of Your Life. Please do like the video or podcast, comment with your thoughts below, subscribe to the channel, and sign up to be a guest on the show. Feel supersonic.